This is the Dutch sled. The driver is Esme Kamphuis. Tine Veenstra is the brakeman. The competitive start time. Kamphuis, the 26-year-old driver, is a medical doctor when she's not driving bobsleds. Only 400s behind at that split. Finish time for Esme Kamphuis of the Netherlands. Gets her into 7th position, 51.01. Certainly puts her in good position to finish in the top 10 in this competition. Take a look at the start. The explosion needed. We've seen several teams struggle to get both athletes into the sled there at the start and get that push bar down. The Dutch sled now. The driver Esme Kamphuis.
Tine Veenstra, the brakeman, 7th place after run number 1. Just like in the two-man race, the Dutch were in 7th after the first heat. In that two-man race, the Dutch, by staying in the top 10, qualified for the Olympic Games. I'm not positive of the status of this sled, but I do know one thing, Chris. Even if they don't make the Olympic Games, this driver has a pretty good career outside of bobsledding ahead of her. She's a medical doctor.
There are a handful of doctors on the World Cup bobsled circuit. And it is nice to know you always have that back to fall back on.
Henry Noume of the British men's program is a doctor in the British Army. And some PhDs mixed in among the athletes.
The finish time of 51.04, and Robach remains in the lead.
I told you those splits were tight, and any of those 4 sleds, the 3 that have just gone down and the ones still to come, have a chance to move into the top 5.
The Dutch sled will finish in the top 10. They've guaranteed that, but they certainly hoped to move up in the standings here in run number 2, and that did not happen. No. Robach and Acevedo in good position.
It was the S curves when the speed is not at its fastest that proved to be the most costly.
The thumbs up from Alexander Zubkov. The Dutch sled now, Edwin van Calker of the Netherlands. And here in Konigssee in the two-man event, an historic moment for Edwin van Calker. Pardon me, we're looking at last year's four-man event. A silver for Van Calker. He became the first Dutch driver to win a medal in World Cup competition with that result. As I was saying, he had a great result in the two-man competition yesterday, finishing in the top 10, and that qualified him for the Olympic Games this year. He had already qualified by IOC standards, but the Dutch Federation has even more exacting standards. Needed a top 10 finish, got it yesterday. He will be going to Vancouver. This Konigssee track has been very kind to Van Calker. Should mention the other athletes in his sled, his brother Arnold van Calker, Sybren Jansma and Thimothy Beck also in the sled. Bit of a bang there as he heads towards the finish. 49.17, over a half second off the lead of Andre Lange of Germany. The the 11th fastest time out of 13 sleds we've seen so far here in heat number 1.
Nicht ganz zufrieden sein mit dieser Zeit, weil wir vorne angelangt ist. Timo kommt schon hier auf die Landeslinien zum Florschutz-Angerer. Die teilen sich derzeit den 5. Platz. Der Geburtstag von 1600
Looked perfect through there, a little bit of a bang. Then through the Kreisel. In the bottom half of the track, it looked like he lost a bit of time. Through these S-curves. This is Edwin van Calker of the Netherlands. It has been a roller coaster ride for the Dutch, to say the least. A look back to last season here in Konigssee. Van Calker with the silver medal, becoming the first Dutch driver ever to medal in a World Cup competition. That was the good. This is the bad. In Altenburg last World Cup event. That shows you the highs and lows of the sport of bobsled. You always wince when you see crashes. As an athlete, I guess that's a natural reaction.
Yeah, and especially as a driver, it's one of those things. It's tough to talk about. People, there's a lot of superstition. A lot of drivers refuse to talk about crashing or the logistics of it, but it happens. It happened to me twice on Monday. My first runs down this track.
I know in the sport of golf, when someone's struggling, other golfers want nothing to do with that person. I guess that's the same in bobsled.
Yeah, it's funny because the first run when I crashed, you'll be walking up the track and the other drivers kind of avert their eyes. They don't want to look at you or talk to you or get any of your mojo.
Once they make sure you're okay, they turn and walk in the other direction.
Yeah, the brakemen are all very concerned for you. The drivers want nothing to do with you.
Even at that last split, this is going to be very close. We'll see if Lyndon Rush can move up or if Van Calker can take over the top spot. Finish time 48.91. He lost 7/10 over the last few meters of that track, and so Lyndon Rush is able to move up. Amazing in a sport this fast over the course of 2 runs. It can be the subtlest of maneuvers that can cost you a spot in the standings.
Oh yeah, especially not in just time, and you can see all the times will be just hundredths apart, but the steers on this track, as I was talking to one of my coaches, it feels like the difference, like splitting 2 millimeters. You're trying to find that steer, right in the middle there, just enough, and it's really tricky here.
Coach Tom Delhonte trying to will his team into the lead, but the Dutch just 7/100ths off that lead.